Tarun Sharma. Very excited to have this session with you today and talk about your journey. How are you doing
Doing
today,
great,
Tarun?
doing great.
Awesome.
It's always exciting at a startup.
So just to highlight few things about Tarun. Tarun is a founder and CEO at Yodda. We'll know everything about Yodda, what Yodda does and how the whole journey has been. I'm totally excited and we'll be running through all of this in today's podcast. The first thing first, Tarun, tell us more what exactly is Yodda doing and what kind of problem we are solving in the industry.
Sure.
Before we go towards other questions and deep further dive.
Sure. So really excited to be in this space. I mean, I think of myself as a social entrepreneur, and the company is solving social problems, and we basically honed in on two key demographics. One is senior citizens, and the second are women. I mean, we have a country that is aging, even though it's the youngest country in the world. We're going to have 1.4 billion people going through the aging journey. And very shortly, in 2050, we will have more than 350 million people above the age of 60, which is the entire population of America. And on the other side, every single day you read some sort of news about a woman that was molested, raped. These are not pleasant things to talk about, but you do hear about them, read about them. And the thing is that what should you be doing? I mean, of course, the government has to do what the government has to do. But can we somehow empower the women to take safety into their own hands? And this is two things. One is, if an incident happened, then what? And second is, how do you prevent that incident from happening? And of course, there is a third underlying element, which is an incident may never happen, but there is anxiety. And how do you basically deal with that anxiety? So we basically built up two different solutions using tech as the keystone, but we also put in operations behind it to make sure that we could do a good job on serving the senior citizens as well as ensuring the safety of women within the country.
Since we have built up about these areas and the use cases, what you're talking about, in a very layman term, can you explain us how can I get benefited with these solutions?
Yes. So for senior citizens, it's very simple. We do three things for them. We manage any emergency that they might face. And this is on-ground delivery. And we use only Army veterans to provide all of these services to senior citizens. The second thing that we do for them is healthcare, diagnostics, routine health, as well as severe or chronic diseases. And the third thing we do is an elder care concierge, anything they want, banking, insurance, travel arrangements. We also provide companionship services, or for those senior citizens that are very ill, maybe they might need caretakers, nurses, set up a hospital at home, an ICU at home. So the catalog of services is very wide.
Okay.
So all of these are done by Yodda along with a very curated set of partners that we work with.
Okay.
On the women's safety side, we basically have technology that allows a woman to either tell us she needs help because an incident has happened, or an incident is imminent, it is going to happen.
Okay.
And the third is an incident may never happen, but they're anxious because it's late at night, they're in a space which they are all by themselves, or maybe they are being stalked or harassed and so on and so forth. So allowing them to inform a bunch of people, which includes friends, family, but also authorities, that they need some sort of a help using technology. We basically built out that platform. And in both these cases, we have a command center that basically monitors this 24/7, also run by Army veterans.
Got it. So I'll go one thing at a time. So I want to know more about elderly care.
Sure.
First, why did you create this? What was that came to your mind?
Yeah.
Just run us through that journey.
Sure.
And also I would also like to understand, have there been any instances where you have been proud that you have been able to solve this problem for, youth like us?
Yeah.
Because for me, I see my parents getting, older every day, and I have that pain inside me. So if you can just give us some touch upon these areas, would be really helpful.
I think companies like Yodda are not born on spreadsheets. Many companies are born on spreadsheets. The financial model is what drives people want to make a profit or whatever it is. This company is born out of my own personal experiences. The first incident happened in 2016. My dad got paralyzed. I had to manage that emergency, and it was a mismanaged emergency.
Okay.
My dad fell down. My brother called me saying he's fallen down. We did the common sense thing, looked up Google for an ambulance provider, called him, said, here is the address you need to go to. By the time I reached my dad's house, which is right here in Pune, the ambulance had not reached, and the driver stopped picking up my calls. That forced me to put my dad into my car, take him to the closest hospital. That's the second common sense thing you do. Take them to the
That's
closest
correct.
hospital.
Yeah.
The doctor there basically said, he's getting paralyzed, but we can't help him. Take him to Ruby Hall, which is a bigger hospital. That forced me to put my dad back in the car and take him to Ruby Hall, in which time he lost his ability to sit, stand, talk, and eat. And 6 months later, he passed away. So I had that experience of a mismatched emergency. And then the entire journey of caregivers, arranging hospital beds, catheters, Ryle's tube. I mean, we went through that whole process. And at that point, I realized that in India, you don't have a emergency response system like
Systems.
the West, like 911. I made a mental note of it, didn't do anything about it because I was still in my previous job. I was running a company called BMC Software in India, and I had no plans of leaving. But as destiny would have it, I left BMC Software in April of 2019, and in October of 2019, my mom was detected with a very aggressive form of breast cancer. Now, important to note that between April and October, I had started another software company because that's what I do. I build software.
Okay.
But I shelved that plan. So my mom was detected with an aggressive form of breast cancer. I went through that whole journey, chemo, radiation, diagnostics, nutrition, caregivers, all of that. But I lost her a day before the COVID Janta lockdown. And then during COVID, I became the support network for all my friends who lived abroad, but their parents were here. You know, I lived abroad myself. 15 years I was out of the country. So my entire friend network, they were depending on me for safety of the parents, right
Yeah.
from getting hospital beds or medicines or whatever that might be. That was when this realization happened that all the parents who were parents of children of the brain drain era, they are now aging, and the children that live abroad are unlikely to come back
Yeah.
to take care of the parents for the sole purpose of taking care of their parents. I'm one of the few that did come back, but a lot of people are not going to come back. The second thing that was happening is that the joint family system is completely disintegrating. Maybe in some tier C cities, tier D cities, you still have that, but at least in metro cities, that's completely gone. It's
Okay.
all nuclear. And the third thing that was happening was that India was becoming digital at a very rapid pace. And there was an aggregator for everything. There's an aggregator for ambulances, aggregator for diagnostics, aggregator for food, aggregator for transport. But the senior citizens would never be part of it because now they have to learn 20, 25 different apps and they're very uncomfortable with financial
That's
transactions.
correct.
So could we connect the dot? And so that was the opportunity that I saw, and that is how I got into the space of elder care. So coming from the world of technology, of course, the first thing I had to do was build technology.
Mm-hmm.
And we built some phenomenal technology to make sure service delivery is excellent, consistent, and reliable. Because
Got
of
it.
the software backend that we use to drive, it's software driven. Our entire processes are software driven.
Mm-hmm.
And on the front end, we had to give them an app that was so simple to use that anybody can. It's simply a software button. They press
Got
a
it.
button for a service request, and 3 seconds if they hold it down, it becomes an emergency. And the emergency is raised within our command center, just like a service request, within microseconds.
Mm-hmm.
And then every single situation, for whether it's life-threatening emergency, non-life-threatening emergency, it's just somebody's seriously ill and they need attention right now, but it's not really an emergency. All of those kinds of things we basically planned, put very detailed SOPs, hired and trained the best army guys we can, and we went to market with that. So, you know, that's how we got into that space. And at
Got it.
some point we then pivoted also to women's safety because I built out this phenomenal emergency management system. And I built it out primarily because my dad's emergency was mismanaged by me.
Okay.
So if I can do it, and I'm well intentioned, educated, I think I can think on my feet. If I can mismanage an emergency, almost everybody can.
Mm-hmm.
So we took that same idea of emergency management and built some phenomenal technology for women's safety. Probably the best in the world.
Got it. So you have been talking about technology a lot. So if you want to touch upon more about innovation and what exactly more are you doing in this space,
Yeah.
can you talk,
Yeah,
give us
yeah,
some more insight?
See, first thing on the innovation front is that we use the mobile phone and almost every capability of the mobile phone to figure out if something is wrong. For example, if a senior citizen falls down,
Mm-hmm.
we have fall detection built into it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a crash, we have crash detection. If somebody has Alzheimer's, we have geofencing, meaning we have used every capability of the phone to be able to preserve the safety of
Yep.
the senior citizens. And the same things apply to women too, by the way. Um, but more than that, we have looked at certain use cases that make software unreliable. I'll give you an example. If somebody is having a heart attack at night,
Okay.
now it is virtually impossible for the person to pick up his phone, unlock the phone, open my app, press the button saying that I'm in trouble. If it is a serious emergency like
That's
that.
right.
So now we have voice activated emergencies. All the senior citizen or the woman needs to do is say the words, help me, bachao, or emergency. And it triggers an emergency from their phone. So if you've fallen down, there are cases I've known of somebody, a woman,
And the son or daughter will get the message you're saying.
son, daughter, my command center, everybody
Will
is
get this
instantly
message.
notified using multiple channels. We will get automated calls, we get WhatsApp messages, we get SMSs, loud alarms blaring in everybody's phone that there is an emergency.
Got
And then my team handles that emergency. So this is an example of a real use case. Or if I take a look around women's safety, the RG car incident, which was really, really heartbreaking. Well, the question we asked ourselves is that would my technology have saved her life? If she had my app, would I be able to save her life? And the answer was no. Because when she was sleeping and she wakes up to somebody holding her down, how is she going to operate her watch or her phone?
Yeah.
She can't. But the same feature of screaming, help me, or bachao, or one of these words basically triggers an emergency. Then the second question was, okay, even if an emergency got raised, she can't speak on the phone. So how do I know what is happening to her? So every time an emergency gets raised like that, the phone's microphone opens up and all of the sound around there is transmitted real time to her whole network and my command center. Now we could sense the trauma in her voice and know that this is an incident that
Yeah.
needs immediate attention. And the third, where exactly is she? Because GPS only gives you two-dimensional location. So it'll say, okay, it's happening in this building, but what if it's happening on the 5th floor? Where do I send people to?
Correct.
So then we basically built technology which tells us pinpoint which floor is she on, which department. I would have known she's in the seminar hall. So this is an example of taking real life situations and saying, asking the tough question, would we have been able to help that person? And if the answer was no, we went back to the drawing board to figure out how do we enhance our solution
Yeah.
and make it better. So this is examples of innovation. The software is the software.
Yeah.
But then the real life application of the software is what drives a lot of the innovation for us.
Could you give me an example when I look about the stories you're talking about? Something which is very close to heart for Yodha in the last 3.5 years,
Yeah.
where you have actually saved lives across the board. Just one or two examples.
Many, many, many. We've saved 120 lives so far. In the short span that we have operated, we have saved 120
Amazing.
lives. And these come in different forms. Sometimes they come in the form of somebody saying, I'm in trouble, I need help, I'm getting a heart attack, please send an ambulance. Sometimes it comes in hidden forms. So we talk to the parents on our platform every day. In one particular case, when we were talking to them, she said, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to go lie down. So I said, what is happening? She said, no, I'm just not feeling well. So once I sleep and wake up, I'll be fine. That prompted an escalation from my team to the head of operations, who then called and said, what exactly is happening? And she said, I'm feeling a little tightness in my chest. And we said, okay, we need this to be investigated. We are sending somebody to your house and we're going to take you to the hospital. When we took her to the hospital, basically the doctor said she cannot go home without a surgery. And that meant we had to call the child in Chicago, we had to call his father-in-law who's a doctor, get consensus, and she went home a few days later because that surgery was done. Had we not, or another case where we've got a call from somebody and realized this person is unconscious, but she's unconscious because she's in a sugar-induced coma.
Okay.
Because she'd missed to take her diabetes medicine. And we had to basically rush her to the hospital and stabilize her. At that point, there was no call or a button press. It's just that, she's unconscious. And we realized because she wasn't picking up her phone. So we called our neighbor and said, can you just check? She didn't. We sent a guy. She didn't open the door. After some time, she opened the door. And we realized she was in a sugar-induced coma. Now imagine if we didn't do that. If we didn't do that, what do you think would have happened? So, these are very gratifying moments for me, Sunil, because we are in this business. Yes, it is a for-profit business, but eventually we derive our gratification. That is why I said in the start that this is not a company that started on Excel.
Yeah.
This is a company that started to solve a social problem. And it's a very tough problem to solve, a very, very tough problem to solve. But I think for most part, we've figured out all the things that can go wrong and how to manage them very effectively.
So on the ground operations, you mentioned you have army guys, right? I've been looking at different business models where, you can figure out the models and have different fleet operators, and you have Swiggies and Zomatos of the world. When I look at your model, I'm just thinking right now and curious, why not these people and why army guys? And I'm sure the cost of army must be very premium and expensive.
Yes, it is.
So again, question, why? Why are we having army guys?
Primarily because the army guys, this is a business of trust. And I would say that if Indians in general don't trust very easily, but if there is one institution every Indian respects, it's the Indian Army. The Indian Army is known for empathy, discipline, structure, because that's what we need. When you're following an SOP, you can't have too much of variability in it.
Yeah.
When I call an army guy at 3 o'clock in the morning, he picks up the phone in one ring. I don't know whether too many civilians will do that. So for me, it is peace of mind knowing that my team is ready 24/7. They're responsive. They're highly ethical. The ethics is drilled into the Indian Army guys. They have a sense of service, seva bhav. First, they did seva for the country.
Yes.
And now all you need to do is channel that into seva for the senior citizens. So I felt like, yes, this is premium. I do pay them a lot more than maybe a Swiggy or a Dunzo. But I can tell you, I would not sleep well if I was running an operation with anybody except the Indian Army.
Okay. So what is the current size of these people right now?
We have about 20 people on the field.
Okay. And which all states are we covering in India?
We are now in 7 cities.
Okay.
We are in Pune, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Thane, Delhi, Chennai and Bengaluru.
Okay. In terms of expansion, what would be your next goal? And are we looking to
Our
expand it
plan
further?
is to offer the service pan-India. Now, of course, that's a bold statement because India has like 400 cities. And then if you start talking about, some more smaller cities, it's a very ambitious statement to make. And each city by itself is huge. Like Bangalore or Bombay might be 25, 30 zones and you have to cover all of those zones. So it's a big, ambitious statement that I'm making. But our intent is over a period of time to be able to get into all the major cities in India. And we're also basically looking at those cities where maybe there was the most amount of brain drain. Like in Hyderabad, a lot of people leave after they graduate to work abroad.
Yes.
Or in Kerala, you see a lot of people go to the Gulf countries. Or in Goa, a lot of people go off on cruise ships and, they're in the whole tourism business.
Yes.
So there are definitely pockets where you see a lot more people leave the states or cities they live in. And those are, of course, our primary targets that we're going after. But the intent is to start as many cities as we can. Zones within cities. So even though when I say a city, the whole city is a huge thing. So we might start in certain zones where we basically find that from these zones people have typically, in every city you have those wealthy spots, you have the poor slots, and then you got the middle class.
Yeah.
Middle class is where we've realized that they were professionals, they educated their children, and those children left.
Got it.
So typically those are the segments that we basically try and start our operations in first.
Just a question on your brand. So how did the name came into the picture? If you could
Yodda?
just
Yeah. Yodda, as you can imagine, I talked about the army, is linked to Yodha.
Yeah.
Actually, the word comes from the word karma yodha.
Okay.
It is every child's duty to take care of their parents. That is their karma. But sometimes they cannot. So I want them to outsource their karma to me. And my job as a yodha is to serve and to protect. So you're outsourcing your karma to me. I hope I get those karma points. But you're outsourcing your karma to me. And as a yodha, my job is to make sure we serve and protect the senior citizens. So that's how the name came into being. And I also think so it's very catchy.
I personally also think the same. We didn't touch upon much on women's safety. Now I would like to switch and talk more there. You spoke about the Kolkata case earlier. But on a general note, and the message for all the women in our country, how exactly are you solving the problem? If you can just talk about a little more problem and what today they need to do, and how What are the next steps, for
Yeah, yeah,
example?
yeah, absolutely.
Going to the app and doing what all? Just
Great,
give us.
great, great question. So we took the emergency platform and created a brand new platform for women. So it's not the same platform, it's a different platform because this one is built specifically for women. We built in a bunch of features that use their mobile phones and smartwatches. The 4 or 5 important features. Number one, the ability to raise a discrete alarm. See, when a woman is in trouble,
Yeah.
everybody knows that the phone is her mechanism to let people know that something is happening. So you don't really want to draw attention to the phone. So you should be able to raise an emergency discreetly. Think of this as when bank robbers walk into a bank. Every teller has that button under his desk, right? When they raise it, they can't pick up the phone and call 911 or call 112, or they can't do that because the robbers are armed with guns. They're going to shoot you if you try to pick the phone.
Yeah.
So similarly, we've given them a mechanism to raise a discrete emergency. When they raise a discrete emergency, we also realize that they can't talk on the phone. At that point, the microphone opens up. We can listen to what is happening around it, whether it is abusive language, threatening language, all of that can be picked up. These are audio cues for us to determine the severity of the incident and then what needs to happen. So that is a very important feature, discrete emergencies and open mics.
So just a question on this. So if the woman is traveling alone or in a cab,
Yep.
could she be helped or assisted with your application? That's
Yeah.
one. If somebody is following her in late night,
Yes.
can
I'll-
again,
Yeah.
if you can just turn around
Yeah,
these use
I'll
cases
explain
also. Yeah.
both those separately. So for the women that are in transit, we have a specific feature called Watch Over Me.
Okay.
So when she goes into the Watch Over Me mode, some people in her network, not everybody in her network, but some people in her, like her father, her brother, her boyfriend, her husband, they are informed that she's feeling anxious and they can watch over her. And in that, you basically can track her journey. And you get a lot more information. Where is she? Where is she going? What time will she reach? What is her battery percentage?
Yeah.
Who is she with? Pictures maybe of the car she's in, picture of the driver, picture of the stranger because she's sharing a ride. All of that information is shared with those people she has picked. Now, if something is off, like the phone is not moving for 10 minutes, you're trying to call her, and the phone is unanswered or off, but you knew there was 90% battery,
Yeah.
it could indicate something is wrong. One assumption that we made in our platform is the person in trouble is not always going to be in a position to ask for help. So we've given that ability to her network. So
Yeah.
the people who are watching her, they can raise an emergency on her behalf. And when they raise an emergency on her behalf, it is almost as if she's raised the emergency herself. So I basically get access to her mic. I can hear everything. I get access to her live location if she's still moving, or at least the last known location. I get all of that information, and the whole network is then informed that she's in trouble, and my command center is also informed. So that is a watch over me in transit. Similarly, we have a watch over me in place. So this is again the unfortunate Calcutta incident where she was not going anywhere.
Yes.
So she could simply put her phone on the charger, get into the watch over me mode, and now her phone is watching over her. And if something happens and she says, help me or bachao, the emergency is getting raised, the microphone is opening up, we are able to listen, I know precise location, all of that happens in the watch over me function.
Got it.
The third thing that we did for women is QR code. So if you're in an accident, this actually works for not just women but men too. Every person on a platform has an individualized QR code, and any stranger, Good Samaritan, can scan that QR code, do a visual identification, participate in the process if he or she is willing, and we can basically save the life of that person. So anybody can raise an emergency on somebody else that is in trouble. If you're on my platform, you're not the only person that says I need help. Anybody can ask for help for me.
Got
So
it.
that is the third very important feature that we built for women's safety. And then there are many more things. You were asking about if somebody is being stalked or whatever. We are now working on creating safe zones for women. So if a woman is being stalked, then she can say, show me the closest safe zone. And then,
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, and then she is directed to the safe zone. The safe zone operator is called to say, this woman has just walked in, she's being stalked. So just keep an eye out on it. And if you see some of these guys walking in, you may need to call 112, you may need to call the cops. At the same time, her friends and family are dispatched to the safe zone. So she's not alone for too long. as soon as she has indicated she's feeling unsafe, her friends and family are sent to the safe zone to meet with her there. So like that, we're doing a bunch of other initiatives to create safe zones for women, reporting stalking, reporting bullying, reporting catcalling, reporting inappropriate touching. So there's a whole bunch of things that are in the pipeline that we are currently working on.
So when are we expecting all of these solutions?
Some of these things, I mean, we are doing now city by city. Like creating safe zones is a huge initiative. So we are going to just do it in Pune first. So first build the whole proof of concept in Pune.
Okay.
And once we have the playbook for how it works, then we will move on to other cities that we operate in.
So are you doing a beta testing?
Yeah,
across?
we've just started that process now.
Okay, amazing. Sounds,
Yeah, and also recruiting good Samaritans.
Okay, so Pune would be first, and then
Pune would be first because I'm here.
Yeah.
And you know, it's we have relationships with the cops here, and so it's easier for me to do it in Pune. Once Pune is successful, then we take the same playbook to other cities as well.
And have you tried talking about this awareness across at a larger scale right now?
We have not. So we have we're
Because
just
this is
in
the need of the hour.
Yeah, we're just about in the process of launching this.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that we have 25,000 people on that platform today, even though we have not spoken a word
Much
about
about
it.
it.
But we've had some amazing people sign up saying that women's safety is important for us, and we want to offer this to. We've got a large university with 10,000 students on our platform, a large IT company with 15,000 of their employees on our platform. I'm in conversations with one company, it's a huge finance company that is really that wants to do this women's safety thing for all them. And we're talking about, I don't know, 40,000 employees. So it's definitely gaining traction. And every single number counts. I mean, if you look at India, maybe we have about 600 million women. And if you take out rural India, you're still talking about hundreds of millions of women that could use with a solution like this.
I have a question on this. So usually things are very dynamic across the board in our life. Before, people used to work from office all the days. Now it's people are still wanting remote.
Yeah.
Still, do you think insurance is one part of looking at it, but this having as a solution for employees makes me also more comfortable from my employee experience standpoint. So how do you see this also as a small alternative which is mandatory in organizations today?
I believe so. I believe that organizations have a responsibility to their employees, for their employees' well-being and safety.
Yeah.
Most organizations are geared up to handle incidents when they happen on their office grounds. You know your closest hospital, maybe you have an ambulance parked right in your parking. And so if an employee is having a heart attack, there are 50 people around that know he's having a heart attack. They're going to call security, you're going to call ambulance, you're going to take him to the hospital. But when the same employee is working from home and you're on a Zoom call with him and you can visibly see he is having a heart attack, how will you manage that incident? Do you know which hospital he needs to be taken to? Do you know where the ambulance needs to be sent to? So my view is that in the hybrid world, some things that you took for granted, in the pre-COVID world, you can't take for granted anymore. But the liabilities remain the same. Again, like I said, maybe not legal liability. I think in some cases legal liability, but at least a moral liability to protect your employees. And so we are starting to see a lot more corporates being open to it, to say that, hey, we need to do something about it. Plus, you got the whole DEI initiative. A lot of the forward-looking HR leaders are paying attention to DEI, and they're saying, what can we do to make it better for our women employees? What can we do to make it better for people with disabilities? What can we do to make it better for the LGBTQ plus people working within our community? So you're starting to see the thought process broaden up a bit, and I think that's where Yodda fits in. Exactly where we fit in.
So from a legal liability standpoint, especially for directors of the company, what is the message
they should be worried.
Have?
Oh my God, they should be worried. Think about this for a second, okay? And I'm sorry, I don't want to sound insensitive, so cut it out if you want. When the RG car incident happened, the doctor lost her life. The perpetrator got caught and he's going to go through whatever legal proceedings. But what happened to RG car as an institution? Completely destroyed. You have the ED there, you got the CBI there, all of that. The reputational loss a company faces when that incident happens. Granted, these incidents don't happen all the time, but when that incident happens, the liability is directly on the directors of the company, and the reputation that you've taken so much time to carefully build, all of that goes down the drain. There's a big company that was in the news for an employee that committed suicide
Yes.
because of stress. So all of these things eventually impact the reputation of the company and hold the directors of the company liable. And so I think you've got to think of this as insurance. When you pay insurance, you really hope that you don't have to use it, but you're okay to pay the insurance fees.
Yes.
Similarly, I think services like Yoda should be subscribed to by the company for their employees. That provides peace of mind to everybody involved, the employee, their family, directors of the company. And you also look innovative, right? Because at least this is the start of an era.
Exactly.
This will 10 years from now, everybody will say we all have Yoda.
Exactly.
But you're now at a point where you're saying, look, I need to do something a little bit different.
Yes.
And very proud to say that Global Logic is one such company in Noida that has done it. They were one of the first ones to say we want to do this for our employees and sign the first deal with me. Company paid, nothing for the employee, they pay, and the employees are on board. So we are really blessed to have some leaders like that,
Yeah.
who think out of the box and our message resonates with them.
Got it. Understood. Great. So I want to know your positioning for Yoda right now as a business. So
Yeah.
you spoke about, what you guys are doing for individual, size of people. Then you spoke about for organizations. So where are you seeing this moving across? Is it a B2C? Is it a B2B business?
The elder care business very clearly is a B2C business.
Okay.
And it's not because the opportunity is not there at corporates. It is there at corporates, and corporates are doing deals with companies like Yoda. The thing is, the fact is that the Indian workforce is too young. If the average age in an IT services company is 28, 29 years old, the father might be 50, 52, 53. They may not need services like Yoda's at this point in time. And so the adoption of elder care services within large companies tends to be much smaller.
Okay.
So it is primarily still a retail play, and it is also a retail play because if I go to a company saying, okay, we want to offer elder care services to all your employees, then when they come back and say, we have this one person who lives in this village and his father is really sick, what can you do for him? I'm not sure what I can do for him. So when it's not broad applicability, that is when these kind of things become a little bit of a problem. So in my view, the elder care business is primarily retail.
Retail.
It will have some of these companies, maybe not IT, because IT has a young workforce, but if you were in the manufacturing business or any of that, you may have more applicability. Even in IT, in select, like the mid-management or senior management, they are older, so their parents are here. And the mid-management and senior management travel all the time. So, and their parents may be living with them or they're living in another metro. So there is definitely applicability.
Yeah.
But the point is that broad applicability, that if I got 100,000 employees in my company,
Yeah.
maybe 5,000 of them need it. But the remaining 95,000 may not need it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that is the dynamic of the elder care business.
Got it.
Women's safety, on the other hand, everybody needs it. I hope that every woman in India has my app on her phone. And if that happens, then I think that we might be able to work with the government also more closely to see how this could be free for all the women. I mean, my intent would be, or I would love to see the government say, you build this great, fabulous technology, and we think that this should be a government initiative. Here is your money, and let us just roll it out to every woman in India for free. That would be my dream situation. But till we get to that dream, we are just going to keep working and keep grinding and make sure that we get the message out and get it on to as many women's phone as we can.
I hope we reach there sooner.
Yeah,
I think
I do too.
Great. So, Tarun, tell us now, where do we see Yoda in the next 5 years? What do you think,
I don't know, I'm sure I think bigger than most people would, but I think for me, in the next 5 years, if I have a few 10 million women on my platform and a few 100,000 senior citizens on my platform, I think that would be a dream come true for me. Not just the volume, but I also hope that we can have this in as many cities as in India as possible. It's not just the metros, because senior citizens live everywhere, women live everywhere. So to me, penetration into multiple cities, having the apps and services provision for multiple people, I think that is a dream come true for me.
Got it.
My ideal situation, a lot of these big logo companies, they would be Yoda's customers, their employees would be on our platform. Colleges, universities, they would have their students on my platform. Hospitals would have all their doctors and nurses and staff on my platform. To me, that is the dream, where Yoda becomes a household name. And one thing that is extremely important is that when that happens, I think it will also send caution to the people that have evil intention, because it should be something like, if I'm protected by Yoda, don't touch me, don't come near me. So for me, that is the dream for the brand,
Yeah.
that is associated with don't mess with people that are on Yoda's platform.
Any message, candidly, what our audience could help you to reach there? Anything they should do immediately and have a message for them?
Yeah, they should simply go to the App Store and download an app called Yoda Enable Plus.
Okay.
And it's very, very simple. It's an in-app purchase to sign up for the subscription. And they simply go through a 5-minute setup. It's not even a 5-minute setup to put the critical information required for emergency management, and they're good to go. Okay. So it's extremely simple. Go to the App Store or the Play Store, download it, set it up, 5-7 minutes at most, and you're done. You don't really have to spend too much time.
And for the organizations and HRs and
For the organization, I'll make an appeal. I'm not just IT companies, but hospitals. I would make a appeal to those people that may have some people that are always deployed on the field. If you're that type of a company, just reach out to me, because managing the well-being and safety of the employees, I think, is a very important part of running a company that is doing great for society. Anyway, you offer a service or a product that people use, but if we can do it along with our employees and making sure that they are doing well, I think, that is what I would say to everybody.
amazing. So we have spoken a lot about Yoda today. Quickly, if we can spend some time knowing you as an
Sure.
individual. So you moved from US, and
Yeah.
and just run us through your journey. How did you become one of the leading person to lead BMC in India, the software brand? Just run us through, and also tell us anyone in today's generation, especially I speak to a lot of youth.
Yeah.
And what are the traits they should be focusing on to grow so exponentially across the board?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm one of the rare ones. One of the things I'll tell you is just the population of India so much that there is this saying कि मेरा बेटा लाखों में एक है. Now, if you say मेरा बेटा लाखों में एक है, मतलब आपके जैसे 10,000 लोग हैं. So for you to differentiate, so I don't really look at it that I did anything spectacular or anything like that, but I have really enjoyed my journey, and I will also tell you a lot of it is destiny. I think I was destined to start Yoda. Otherwise, I would have gone the same path. Once I quit BMC, I would have become CEO of another software company and gone down that path.
Yeah.
Or I would have done a startup, building another software platform to do something that corporates or enterprises need. This was destiny for me. Similarly, coming back to India was destiny for me. It was not on the cards. I lived abroad for many years. I did my startup as a young entrepreneur. I was very lucky to meet some co-founders when I was 25 years old. And we did our first startup company called ECCube, which was in the B2B e-commerce space.
Got it.
And this was ahead of its time, because we are talking 1996, when the internet is just kind of catching on.
Yeah.
After ECCube, I again got that same opportunity to join a team, a company, a startup called Virtusa. And I became part of the early journey of that company. And that company then we took public in 2007. 2009, I got a call from a friend of mine whose company had just been acquired by BMC Software. And he said, we would love for you to go to India and run this. Just go for a couple of years and come back. Those couple of years have now become 15 years. So I came to India. I've had a fabulous journey here. Both BMC did extremely well. They were top 8 companies to work for. The whole company transformed, during my time as well. I was there when a lot of the transformation was going on. And then Yoda happened, which I told you the story of how I got into Yoda. So I think a lot of it is around an opportunity that presents itself to you. But every opportunity comes looking like very hard work, and it really puts you out of the comfort zone.
Yep.
Like living in America, moving back to India, even though I'm from India, for me it was not an easy decision, because I had my children, my wife. All of us had to figure out, how do you make this move as a family?
Yes.
Same way, when you run a large company and you get used to the salary checks and the perks of being an executive in a large company, to go back to doing a startup late in my life meant you were doing everything. There, you don't have like an EA doing this and so many managers doing that and so many VPs doing that. I just didn't have that. And that seriously puts you out of the comfort zone. And I think a lot of that growth actually comes from being in that uncomfortable zone. You grow in that uncomfortable zone. And I think a lot of people shy away from taking down this path because it's hard work. Every opportunity comes disguised as hard work. And so most of us say, not today, maybe the next one, when I'm more ready. And then you realize that you missed out so many opportunities primarily because you were not willing to get into that discomfort. But discomfort is only temporary. I mean, 10 years down the line, maybe I'll have the same kind of a life I had when I was at BMC. But right now, it's a grind. And that grind scares people.
You spoke about hard work. So what do you think, hard work or talent?
No. Hard work. What talent do I have in the elder care space? I'm a software guy operating an elder care company. Talent you build, skill you build, domain expertise you build, you learn. Of course, it's tough because you make mistakes and you learn from your mistakes. So I think talent is important, but what is more important is innate talent. And that innate talent I basically put into the category of hard work. Whatever you're doing, work hard at it. Be disciplined. So one thing that I have to say is a lot of people I find are not disciplined in life. And discipline is the one key element that keeps you going. Because while you may love to do things you love to do, you have to do the things you hate to do. You have to do them. And if you're always picking only those things you love to do, and you're not doing the things that you hate to do, you're not going to get anywhere. I mean, I do yoga in the mornings, and I have to tell you, it's torture for me when I do that yoga, because I'm not inherently flexible. But I do it. You know, I have to work out in this busy schedule, somewhere I've got to put my training schedule in.
I think it's, I've been hearing, going through a lot of videos recently across different podcasts. One thing it also talks about in this message is doing boring things well. Okay, and people get very lazy or they don't want to do boring things. So let's say, for example, any of the sportsmen, you take an example of Virat Kohli. He gets up at 5 a.m. and start practicing. So
it's hard work and discipline. He can say, today I won't. But he doesn't say, today I won't. Whether he feels like it or he doesn't feel like it, he gets up and goes. So the same thing, your mind will tell you why. Just don't do it today. You can do it tomorrow. And you procrastinate. Not procrastinating is discipline. Every time that I have to go for that yoga class in the morning, I say, you know what, let me just tell her, my body is sore, I slept late, this happened, that happened. Every morning when I have to go for that yoga class, my mind is making excuses for what should I tell her so I don't do yoga. But I have to stop all of that and go for the class. And once you get into the flow, then it's amazing. And you walk out saying, wow, I'm so glad I didn't miss it. I really enjoyed it. But that fighting the mind to do things that are important, not just the things you love, I think is the most important skill anybody that wants to succeed in life must have. Must have.
So just a question on this, especially on the growth of today's individual. Anyone who's joining any organization, and let's say he's a fresher or 1 to 2 years of experience, I believe everyone has a dream to become maybe a CTO or a founder or maybe a CEO today. So what are the things apart from hard working do you feel for them to see that quick ladder? And do you think there is a quick upsurge solution?
No. There is no quick up solution to this. But what I will say is, you have to have a roadmap to where you want to go. And I get this question a lot from people who aspire. So the easiest way is to basically start from the end. So if you say, I'm going to retire as a CEO at 60, right? Then you don't want to become a CEO and retire. So you have to become a CEO at 55 or 50. If you have to be a CEO at 50, you should have had experience in selling, delivery, team building, all of that. So you've got to do a gap analysis and figure out what gaps do I have. And then you have to actively pursue opportunities that allow you to build that skill in where there is a gap. Either you build the skill or you have a partner who you're going to bring on who deals with that shortcoming that you have. But if it is not planned, it's like saying, I want to drive and go somewhere. But then where are you going to land up? Nowhere. If you said, I'm going to drive and go to Delhi, then you're going to put a map together. You're going to say, this is how I'm going to go, this is where I'm going to sleep tonight, second night, whatever it is, this is the route I'm going to take. Now, will it actually be like that? No. You're going to get roadblocks, you're going to have your direction changed, but you're going to land up in Delhi. But if you never pick Delhi, you just said, I'm going to go somewhere, then where are you going to land up? So I always tell people, don't be floaters. Don't be like that log in the river that's just going to land up somewhere. If you want to be that CEO, you want to be that CTO, first understand what it takes to be that. Then do a skill gap analysis. What skills does this guy need? What is his role? What is his responsibility? Do your skill gap analysis and then chalk your path out, saying, I think I'm an engineer, but I'm going to go do sales for a while because I don't think I can be CEO unless I understand the psychology of selling. And then I'm going to be a line manager here. I'm going to run operations because if I've not run operations, I'll never be able to understand the mindset of the people that run operations. So my next job is going to be an operational role. And then I'm going to go and do this thing, small stint in finance, because if I don't understand money, how will I be CEO? Meaning you got to chalk your path. You need that route map to get you to. So if you're a CTO, maybe you don't have to do some of these things. But if you're a CEO, you better have done some of this for long periods in your life, even if you hated it. That's discipline then.
Amazing. Great. I think we are pretty much at the end of our discussion.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed our discussion thoroughly.
Likewise.
And I hope our audience have taken up some insights. On a personal note, I think what you guys are doing are pretty much changing a lot of things across in India, especially in the safety space for elder as well as for the women's safety.
Yeah.
And my small request to everyone who's watching this video would be, follow them for more because it's a very exciting space, and I'm excited to see what is the future like for Yodda as a brand.
Thank
so all
you
the
so
best,
much.
Tarun.
Thank you, Sunil. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you for coming down. And
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to your audience. And of course, the biggest thing that a startup goes through is awareness. And you're certainly helping me a lot by getting the good word out there. And my ask of you is that please spread the good word. Talk to others about the work that we are doing here at Yodda.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All the best.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Thank you for watching the podcast till the end. If you like the session or if you have any feedback, be it critical, positive, do drop a comment in the comment section for us. It really helps us to improve the quality, and we know that what is the content you would really love. Also, do share the content with any of your loved ones. They could, scale up their career, do wonders with a very small insight too. So looking forward to it, and stay tuned for our next session. Thank you.